Hello, everyone. If I can have your attention, please. We're actually going to get started. So I had you working on your posters to put down your problem and who you're trying to solve it for, just to kind of get ready for that step while we're eating. I figured that saves some time a little bit later in the presentation. But my name is David Vadalaro. I'm the Risk Difference Maker Fellow. We have our co-ops here, Sammy, Maddie, Cameron, and Mina up front. We have our guests from the Technology Transfer Office. Then we have Tom O'Donnell here tonight, Maria Matarazzo, and our fellows, Neil Shortman and Yuho Kim. So anyone I missed that, well, welcome. So, thank you. And so tonight, March 1st, make sure you, after this you register for Workshop 3. And then March 3rd, this Friday, your idea plans are going to be due, so we're helping you work through that through the workshop series. Then what we'll do is we're going to have our readers read them over next week, over the winter break. Not winter break, the spring vacation. And then the semifinals will be announced by social media and email on the 14th. And the 16th, we'll have workshop 4 about pitching. So all the teams that are going to the preliminaries will have to go to the pitching. We'll have to go to the pitching workshop, and you'll also have a pitching session with a professional pitch coach and myself. And then that'll be the 20th to 24th, and on the 27th, your rocket pitch presentations will be due for the preliminary challenge. So here's our faculty fellows. We have Carter from College of Engineering, Carter Coe, Yuho Kim, who's here tonight, Kathy Levy from Fine Arts, Ray Mansfield from the Honors College, Neil Shortland, who's also here from the Fine Arts College, Tom Wilkes from the Kennedy College of Sciences, Kevin Willett from the Manning School of Business, and Kalila Walkowitz from the Francis College of Engineering. Our agenda for tonight, so we're going to review the last workshop. That's why I had everyone writing stuff on the posters. And our activity will be just kind of telling what you did very briefly. We're not going to spend a lot of time. It's just so people, if there's anyone networking looking for other teams, so they can know what you're doing. And then we're going to start assessing opportunities, followed by an activity, then value proposition, another activity, and then we'll wrap up. So let's recap. Basically since last workshop, we talked a lot about the problem. What's the problem you want to solve? Who's affected by that problem? How they're affected by the problem. So hopefully between the last workshop and today, you went out and spoke with about 10 people just to get an idea of who's having that problem. Speak to 10 people having that problem to get an idea of what they're experiencing, how to really change or modify your idea if needed, the problem you're trying to solve. Also looking at the library database and working with the toolkit documentation that we gave you about problem and market opportunity. So what I'd like you to do now is we're going to share in less than a minute, so let's keep it very brief, your problem, the group you're trying to solve the problem for, and basically how they're affected by the problem. So you'll give your name, talk about your team, and problem, the people having the problem, and why it's important to them to solve. So looking for a few volunteers. Not everyone necessarily has to do it. Do we have any volunteers?
All right, so the problem we're trying to solve is to provide around 1 billion Muslims around the world with helping them maintain their prayer schedule and get closer to their religion. Who would be affected by the problem? Our target market would be the Muslims in the first world countries who have access to technology. And well, to kind of reiterate what our idea was to have an app called Smart Azan, which is like an app which is made for Muslims in first world countries that can listen to the call to prayer.
My platform's going to be called Rent Scoop. And so the problem that I ran into is that here as a student at UMass Lowell, I was looking for a rental apartment off campus, and I met with a lot of landlords and a lot of property managers, and the numbers I was given for rent prices in the area were very frustrating because they seemed to kind of appear out of thin air. So the problem is for renters in this area and for all around the country, there's no database or place to look for what the fair rent is on what people are actually paying. The best sources of information right now are active listings, which are not what people actually pay, it's just what people are charging, and word of mouth which if you don't have the right social channels, you won't be able to get a good view. But the basic problem is that there's a big cloud over all the data for rent in the country, so I want to fix that.
Okay, the problem I'm trying to solve is the untimely and inconsistency in the baby in feeding children. For example, I realized that a lot of women right now are into the workforce, like we no longer sit at home, and due to that, during the lactating period of the child, especially for infants, mothers moving from one place to another, their job, and also there is an untimely feeding in the babies, like the babies are not ready appropriately for the timely manner, especially for kids for infants where for every 2 to 3 hours they have to be breastfed. So that's the problem I'm trying to solve, to provide an affordable, reliable, solar-powered refrigeration or storage box that could help to conserve or preserve the baby's food even while the mother is not around. And this could not only help babies, but also could be used as a food storage for every other individual, and it has to be mobile. So that's the problem I'm trying to solve.
My name is Jeremy Hilton, and my product name is called Neuralize. We're working to treat undetected and untreated concussions within contact sports, specifically football. We're trying to protect athletes from short and long-term effects of head injuries and mental health, and this often comes in the form of CTE. This affects currently 99% of NFL players, 87% of college football players, and about 1/3 of all high school football players. It also affects the loved ones of these people, since they have to go on to work full-time jobs and raise families one day, potentially with mental health issues.
Dawson, my project title is vocational, and the problem I'd like to solve is lack of information when it comes to voting. So who's affected by this problem? In 2020, 80 million potential voters didn't vote for reasons of being unregistered, not being motivated to, or not being able to make a decision. And so the way we're looking to solve this is have information on where you can go to register, where you can vote, if you're able to mail in vote, and on top of this, being able to look at the ballot, seeing what questions are going to be on it, what candidates, what those, and knowing the background on both, being able to look at fact-checked information and the history of each and what they've managed to accomplish, who they've gotten donations from, and having transparency after the election as well, showing how they deliver on campaign promises and how those develop after they're implemented.
The problem my product is aiming to solve is making window bars removable because they're permanently mounted in areas that use them, such as homes in the Caribbean, such as Jamaica.
My name is Dumar Ramirez. Our problem is just to solve using cryptocurrency in a way to buy stock for everyday investors or institutions.
My name is Peter Orvis. Our problem is there's too much plastic waste in the environment. We want to clean that up, and it's affecting the environment. That could cause health issues with animals and people, so we want to combat that.
My problem is the language barrier in healthcare institutions. For many languages, for many non-English speakers, given the relativity of the language spoken in the area, take for instance Massachusetts, healthcare institutions focus mainly on languages like Hmong, Italian, and other languages. For this application, we've looked at consolidate very many languages in a more colloquial manner in order to help them.
Is e-concierge, and basically it's a service that is solve the problem of particularly young adults like having a hard time finding people to new things to do within their area, and like people to connect with in particular like niche communities. So
Our team solar sales. So our problem is the inherent expense related to surveying vast areas of land.
Hi, I'm Hugo Q from the PTK, Health Science College. First, we're gonna look at some of the how to assess opportunity. First things are some idea. The idea is kind of some just simple. When you think about something, random idea, something, think about that. Okay. So if it is in your head, unorganized, kind of settled. So those are some ideas. Anything is possible in your brain. So opportunity, you can set up some specific thing with a specific aim. Here you can think about some specific. So think about specific circumstance. There you can find some specific need, and then you can think about what's something new can be needed, and so you can find something possible to something, and you can develop some idea. Okay. Here things are you can think about something taste like pickle, okay? Anything, okay? And then you can try to find something specific thing. Okay. Toothpaste. Taste the pickle. Okay, if you want, you can search for some pickle toothpaste, Amazon. I was surprised as well. Okay, anything pickle toothpaste, lotion, anything you can try. So those are some specific opportunity. Okay, try to find. Okay, toothpaste. Those are some specific thing, and there you can find a specific need and try some get specific item. And then from that point is that you can think about some gap, okay? What's the missing piece, okay? What's the needed? And how to build up a new way, okay? With a specific gap. Then we can think about specific product, way of doing something, okay? It is not driven by simply desire to make something sell, okay? So here you think about some ability to fulfill some market need. What is needed, okay? Also, how to market interest in your idea, okay? Two-way. Those are one example, okay? I was surprised this one, okay? Just kind of the efforts for the use as a toy by an animal, okay? Two-way. So those are fetch all kind of the carry or train something, okay? How to make the animal fun, okay? Also, animal can be fun with a dispatch, okay? So in a two-way, we can think about something in the way of the animal, okay? How animal will be excited with these two, okay? And here are some worksheet, kind of the problem and market opportunity worksheet. And here you can think about two-way, customer and user. Customer is the who will actually purchase your solution. And here user is the who will use your solution, okay? Sometimes could be same, sometimes different, okay? Sorry, should we do this activity right now, or I'm sorry about that?
So just keep going to the next slide
Next
first.
slide.
I mean, basically,
Okay.
you're just going to address that you want to look.
Okay.
These are the numbers.
So I like this cartoon. So here you can see that. So in the view of the client, the purchaser, in the view of the user, actual user. Here, client, purchaser could be parent. Okay, parent got this toy for baby, but actual user here is some baby. Okay, moving, turning around. Look at the face of the parent. They are happy. Oh, I got this new thing, fancy thing, very good thing for my baby. But look at the baby face. He or she is the rapping? No, just kind of the boring. What the heck of these kind of the bot? Okay, so probably mistake of the view of the user. Okay, so here you may think about some view of the client, view of some actual user. Okay, so based on those information, you may try to fill out those kind of the toolkit. Is it okay? Yeah. Okay, here using the toolkit, you can think about kind of who will be the purchaser, who will be some kind of the user. Okay, So do you should is available for
Yeah, they should all have the
you have
market, the competition opportunity, so,
all these one?
no, not this, we already passed them out.
Already passed them out, okay.
So basically, one of the things you want to think about when assessing opportunities is just the numbers and how many people are affected by that problem. So you'll see in the top market competition opportunity worksheet, you'll see it talks about how many people and the different groups, and then that's one of the things you want to look at with the different groups. And where do they live, work, those are things you want to think about their education level, but if we could go to the next slide after the next one. But numbers are helpful to estimate, to determine and estimate the size of the opportunity to make it more credible. So you want to look at data and how big it is and how big it can become, because it sort of depends on your market and the total addressable market, which is the amount that actually is interested. Well, the total addressable market is everybody possible, and then you look at your potential part of that market. But it also helps you determine who you'll be your first customers and users, because not everyone is going to be your first customer and user. So, for example, I always like to use the example of if I make a vegetarian item, is everyone going to want to buy my vegetarian item? Now, everybody can eat, so the whole market is everyone who eats food, but not everyone's going to eat it just because they don't like it. And conversely, if I were to make an all beef or an all meat burger with all kinds of different parts, again, everybody eats, but not everybody can eat that for different reasons. So if we can go to the,
to select video or just do?
not yet, I think the,
Okay, just do some picture.
yeah, you want to just kind of,
Yeah.
so these are different
Yeah, okay.
parts of the, all right, cool.
Okay, sorry about that. So we can
No
do
worries.
activity later. So first look at some example. So it's a good way to show some your data research using the table and graph visualization, way that we can easily understand, we can follow, also can be judged well easily. Okay. Here, for example, here's some bar graph. You can easily find there is some at the young age more using the smartphone. But look at some age population. So using the bar graph. So older population probably using the more kind of some tablet PC. Okay. Sometimes kind of we see some screen, other things using just some touch screen. So tablet much more easier. So you can pull out that information. Okay. So graph and bar graph table can be useful, and then you also visualize the data, okay, in your computation as well. Another example is some kind of some here for some. These kind of the competition, they try to promote some vote ad because of lack of some education that mislead some of the vote kind of things. So using the vote ad application, they help to understand, better find some information on the candidate and the better selection they expect. Okay. Another one is kind of some of the problem in the kind of the joint problem, arthritis. So I'm from some of the health science. Arthritis kind of the joint pain. Sometimes caused by your cartilage is worn out, your bone touch each other, causing pain. Sometimes kind of some inflammation. Swelling your joint cause the pain. Anyway, arthritis kind of some problem in your turning the handle, turning the key. From that point, they think about some of the specific ETRA lock. Without key kind of things, they can just open the door. Okay? They try to find the gap, need, from that observation. Okay, that's the one big example. So here you can think about how problem currently kind of some of the being addressed, used. Okay, and then you can make a list, business or non-profit list. You can try to make some things. Here you need to do some research using the library, some kind of the Googling. You can find a list, and then how effective that current solution applied, used, actually solved. You can try to find out. Okay. From there, you may think about what's the gap, opportunity gap. We just talked about that. Okay. And then there, important thing I just mentioned, you think about two ways. What's the actual purchaser and what's the user? Okay. Think about two ways. Okay. And then you need to some kind of the how your solution, how different from the current solution. You should be unique. I know that some here at the bottom, some tons of some example, iPhone case. Okay, if you just Google the iPhone case using the Amazon app, bunch of the iPhone case you can find. But you may find something unique feature. Okay, from that point, your idea can be also unique. Okay, try to find a gap. What's the need? Okay, that's the point. Okay. Another one is kind of this one example. Many shopper is kind of the boring, kind of the tired, lining in the line to purchase also, and then they try to kind of find some checkout automate system, but still kind of something problem they can see. Okay, so here they try to promote kind of some smart shopping cart system. Okay, so competition at the bottom here, some delivery pickup site, self checkout, Amazon Go. Those are some kind of available competitor. Okay, from that point, they think about that. What's some unique? What's going to be different? Okay, so that can be applied for the smaller location, and also they for the comparable using software system. Okay, and also those are kind of the less kind of the intrusive. Okay, much more easier to use. Okay, from that point, they promote their kind of the smart shopping cart system. So here you can get a team and then develop the picture, okay, your potential competition, and then provide sense of the how realized size, okay, and how important this is one. Okay, you can think about that. What could be unique difference from other competitor? Okay, you can make a list, you can make a picture, okay, using the whiteboard things, window table.
So we're going to start our activity now where you're going to try to figure out who your competition is. And it doesn't have to be exactly somebody doing exactly what you're doing, but solving. It would most likely be solving the same problem that you're solving, but it might not be in the same way that you're doing it. So, so try to list those, and we'll come around and we'll talk with you, and if you have any questions, please let us know. So we'll take a few minutes to work on that. So if we could have a few volunteers, I'm not going to do every team, but we'd like to get a few volunteers to tell us about your competition. I know I went around and I spoke with a bunch of teams to see what you had. Could you, do I have any volunteers to share?
You could read this Morse code here. So for the product that I'm working on to make window bars removable, the competition that we would face is alternative security systems, meaning homes that have their private security firms in areas in the Caribbean that they won't need this solution because they don't have the window bars. And secondly, other fire alarms or home security alarms. Those may pose as competitors.
For competition, what we've found is that Ballotpedia offers a lot of good information on candidates, on bills, donations. For other competition, mainstream media does a fair amount of election coverage and voting or polling results, but as most of you probably know, you can kind of pretty easily figure out who they want in. And for fact checking, being able to clear up misinformation and giving live checks during presidential debates. So those are the competitions that we identified. And our value proposition is that in terms of what Ballotpedia does, I feel like that information can be condensed a lot easier. The way that it's set up is like Wikipedia. You have to do the actual research, look at what you're trying to find, and go through it yourself. And the way that we want it set up is make it easy to comprehend, all laid out, and being able to see the donations received for different campaigns and see the accountability of what they've done before and if they actually know what to say.
For direct, kind of like similar type solution, well, they're not working towards this problem that we are, but for a similar like idea like of what actually is being made, the competition is Tinker Crate. But there's multiple issues with Tinkercreate because I bought like multiple of their things. First of all, it's usually marketed towards children, like they have different boxes for each age range, and it stops at teenagers. There's also some issues with some of their like building. There's always like parts missing, pieces don't fit together right, so it's very frustrating when building them. They also don't talk about like inventors at all, or even really the patents themselves. They usually just have like side home experiments with it. Not overly information. The best information that they give is just kind of mechanical concepts that are used in it. And then for the actual problem that we're working on, there's nothing really directly with inventors that's working towards it, just in general diversity in STEM. For main competitors that are for that, there's different programs that are like STEM programs that teach about different people. There's also some other companies that just try to like put out like facts of like, oh, this person exists, but don't really make it a big part of their brand. The other type of business other than like STEM programs that really make it like partially part of their brand is like Barbie, because they do different things of like, oh, this is like woman scientist, but they focus on women and not really anything else. So there's a lot of places just kind of scattered everywhere and not really anyone that's directly trying to do what we're trying to do the way we're doing it.
As a medical translation application, Medilegal goes up against, firstly, translators and interpreting services. However, there's great issue with this is they're not as effective in emergency, and they also lack variety. And then as a more daunting competitor, we go up against Google Translate and other application programming interfaces, which, although seem daunting, once again, in comparison to Medilingo, they're reduced to a lower level, given that they lack accuracy and less common languages, and they also are not tailored to medical specific applications.
So as for competition, compared to our app, we do have a few other apps that are considered competition, but the problem with them is that they do charge money. They're not non-profit like our app. On top of that, they do have ads. Our app is supposed to be ad-free, and our app also connects to the Alexa and Google Home speakers and the other apps like that.
All right, good evening everybody, how are we doing? Okay, so my name is Neil Shortland. For those of you who don't know me, which I imagine is nobody here, as I've been away all semester, I am a psychologist in the School of Criminology and Justice Studies. Now, while you may wonder why on earth a psychologist is here in a business program, one of the things that you are all going to have to deal with and overcome is the need to get people to make a decision that you want them to make, rather than a decision that you don't want them to make. Now, that literal decision that you want them to make is the decision to use your product, your service, your tool, your technique, your program, whatever it may be. And the decision that you don't want them to make is not just the decision to not use your product, but the decision to do absolutely nothing and continue with their lives and make no decision whatsoever. I cannot emphasize enough the human power of doing nothing. We study people all the time, decision making's in every area, and the number one thing you see is indecision. People don't make the wrong decision very often, they make no decision. Maintain the status quo, keep things as they are, and all of you are asking for change in whatever area you are looking at, right? A couple of the ones that you've all called out, right? My guys here looking at cryptocurrency, right? You're asking people to change the way they handle their finances, or a company to change the way they structure the relationship of their finances. My friend who I talked to with the CTE program and the football players, right? You want change in a football program, right? We had we've got our friend with the app there, right? You want people to change either the way they pray, change the technology they use, change their movements from the every day, right? We're asking humans to change what they are doing, and that is a psychological hurdle and a barrier, and I do not underestimate how amazingly resistant to good ideas everybody is. Think about this yourself. How many things do you turn down every day that probably are good for you? Salads would be a great example, right? Doing things better with money. That's a great example, right? All the time, people are trying to sell us things that make sense, they're good for us, they're logical, we should be doing them, and yet we don't. It is the amazing power of indecision. And all I want to do is just to help you think about who is going to be making this decision, how to pitch yourself in their direction, and with the greatest likelihood of success that you can possibly have. Now let's start with a very, very brief introduction to decision making, lecture 101. Does anybody know, and you may have learned this in business, you may have learned this in I don't know, algorithms, I don't know where you learn this, but what is the general equation of decision making? Yes, sir?
Facts?
No, sir. Very good, though. Yes, sir?
Do I net gain?
Thank you. That is fantastic, right? Easiest decision of a rational choice, we can call it. I believe it's called other things in other places, but I will act if the benefit outweighs the cost, right? So fundamental thing you need to do is identify the cost and evidence that it is greater than the benefit, right? Simple. However, there is a fundamental flaw with that, which is that does not explain why so many people are always so willing and so able to ignore benefits at very minimal cost to them. So it alone isn't enough. Now, one of the things I want you to think about, before I outline a value proposition and what you're going to do with that, is when it comes to indecision, right, there are 3 ways people can choose to not do something. And each of you will be thinking or dealing with a slightly different version, right? So the first way people can decide not to do anything helpful is not knowing that they actually have a problem to deal with in the first place, right? And that may be the case for some of you, because you need to think about what or why may someone not want to use my product, right? Sometimes they don't know that sometimes they don't know that there is a problem in their lives that they are dealing with. I think a good example, my friend, would be your cement case, right? Not everybody knows that the buildings that they built 10, 20 years ago, sort of venture into, you know, amateur civil engineering. Not everybody knows that cement needs to be kept up and assessed and analysed. Well, people don't know when they move into a high-rise in Miami that it would be really nice if someone assessed the building, right? Sometimes we don't know that we have a problem that needs to be solved in our lives. That is your job as the company to educate people and convince them that the problem you are solving is worthwhile and meaningful to them, right? The second is people know they have a problem, but they don't know that your solution is the better solution than the many other competing solutions that are on offer, right? You don't have to convince them they have a problem. You just have to convince them that your solution is cheaper, more elegant, more effective, more successful, better branded, better looking, whatever it may be, and all of the other ones that they're also being pitched at. Think of this as like a bank, right? You want to open a bank account, right? The issue isn't that I don't know, I need to do something with money. I now have 7 banks desperately trying for my money, right? That's a competitive environment. You have to convince them something different. And the final one is my favourite one, which is where they know that they have a problem. They know yours is the solution that will solve it, and they still don't do it because of some kind of barrier or hurdle or some weird little psychological kink that just stops them from acting. My favourite example, although I have overcome this because I've matured, we had the example earlier about this, iPhone cases. I know why an iPhone case is a good thing. I know the ones from Apple are the ones I like, and I still didn't use one for 7 years, and I smashed every single iPhone I ever had. Why? Because I thought it felt cooler in my hand and looked better in a meeting to not have a case. It's the dumbest thing you've ever seen. It's the dumbest thing you've ever heard. But it is exactly why I didn't do it. But that's weird. It's one of the things you'll encounter of these little human quirks. I know your product is good. I know I should want it. But there might be something there that's just stopping me from doing it. So all I want you to think about, and around structuring the value proposition, is don't just think of why someone should use your product. You get very egocentric. You think, oh, of course they should use my product. It's brilliant, it's brilliant, it's brilliant. Ask yourself sometimes, why wouldn't they use it? And what do I need to pitch them in order to overcome that resistance they're going to have to make them maintain the status quo? I'll give you one really good example, right? This is a really good one. So this is a company called Invisaware, which I think ranks probably, David's eating so he won't answer, but I think it ranks as probably the most successful difference maker project ever. I don't know if you've had this pitched to you before or mentioned, but basically Invisaware's issue is it is a security-based sensor, and originally it was designed for females on campus walking home late at night who felt unsafe and wanted, basically, the idea was if someone approaches me and I feel unsafe, it's very fidgety to get a phone out, put in the passcode, or now stick it up to your face, whatever, and call someone. Invisaware was an idea of it's a single button on a piece of jewelry, you press the button, and it would call a significant other and say, I'm in trouble, here's my GPS location, right? Genius idea, needed, brilliant. But what's really interesting is if you look at the solution here, right, the value, right? Easily accessible, fundamental, reliable, easy, worldwide need. But the most interesting one is discrete, right? And that didn't come from the idea of any need or purpose. That came just from what people, the barrier people had to using this technology was they didn't want an ugly piece of jewelry. They didn't want something visible. They didn't want a thing that they could see in their outfit and in photos every day. It's exactly the kind of little thing there that they needed to zero in on to make sure that people overcame the decision to use their product. Another example I'll give you that isn't a difference-maker project is when I was working for the militaries back in the day before I moved over here, we would design technologies for soldiers all of the time. And the number one bit of feedback about why people didn't use it is because it wasn't black. And the reason they wanted the technology to be black was because it made them feel like they were in the special forces and they thought they were really cool. Talk to your audience, talk to the users, and don't ask them why they should use your product. Ask them the barriers that would stop them. And you may unlock very small little things that suddenly help them overcome that barrier and make those great decisions. Now, let's go through how you're all going to structure this. And what you're going to structure this with is basically a simple value proposition. So each of you needs to have a value proposition for your company, where basically in a single sentence you can articulate the benefit, how the benefit outweighs the cost and why a problem is relevant to your target audience. So, value propositions describe the what you are providing, whom you're providing it to, how it solves the customer's problems, and why it is better, faster, or more competitive than the other options that they may be experiencing, right? Now I'm going to give you a quick bit of advice, and then I'm actually going to get all of you to do it yourself, right? So when we say we sell A to B, right, when you're thinking about what you're selling, think about it straightforward, in terms that people recognize, in terms that people understand, in terms that people that will resonate with someone, right? We sell A to B. B is your client population, A is the product that you're selling, C is the problem that they have. Be clear, be articulate in a single sentence. What actually is the problem? And make sure it's a problem that resonates with them. When they hear that problem, it actually has to be something that they are experiencing that means something to them. And finally, D, what are you doing that is going to sell, or sorry, what is going to solve and improve upon this problem? Now, what we're all going to do now is going to take some time. Each of you are going to come up with a value proposition, right? So 4 sentences, maybe 5, maybe 6, but like 4 sentences, right? We do A for B, who have problem C, and our solution is D. That's it. Now, there is one caveat I will add, and you don't have to do it tonight, but I just want you to think about it when you're coming to your pitch, right? There is a difference between the user and the customer sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. The user is the person who will be using your tool, right? I think the CT is a good one here. The user is the person wearing the helmet, right? The player on the pitch, or the coach monitoring the data, right? The customer is the person that paid for it to be there, right? You may need 2 different value propositions because the problem that you're solving for the coach and the player is different to the problem you're solving for the team, right? So just be aware, and maybe you have to think about that, because you've got to always think what am I needing from this value pitch, from this proposition? And sometimes it's I need you to use my tool, I need you to use my product, I need you to want it, and sometimes it's I need you to pay for it. 2 different things, sometimes 2 different groups. So, each of us are going to take some time, and everyone is going to put together a Mad Lib value proposition. We sell or do A, product, to B, customer. Their problem is C, and we solve it better, more eloquently, more competitively by being or doing D. If you've got that down by the end of this workshop, a 5-6 sentence elevator pitch, you've got an idea we can build. Sound good? All right, let's get around the room. All right, everyone, let's go. Okay, who is willing to share, with a microphone now, who is willing to share their value proposition? A, B, C, and D.
So we provide a smart alarm app to first world Muslims who need to maintain a prayer schedule. We solve this problem by creating an app that connects to the Google Home speakers and plays the call to prayer. Our app is non-profit, so cost-free, it is ad-free, and it plays everything onto the Google Home speaker as well.
I sell handheld detectors to cities and municipalities that want to know how healthy their buildings are. My customer would be those municipalities, and I solve this problem by giving them a portable detector that is cheaper, easier, and more compatible with more structures than what's commercially available.
We sell home security enhancement solutions to do-it-yourself home owners, building contractors, and iron workers in the Caribbean, Mexico, USA, and India. Our customers have a problem of home security and use a window bar as a solution. This is inherently unsafe as it poses a fire hazard, which can turn rooms into tombs. We solve this problem by creating an integratable mechanical solution that allows the release of window bars only from the inside. Therefore, occupant will be able to escape in the event of a fire.
We do vocational website, app, and newsletter for unregistered, unmotivated, and confused voters. Our customer has a problem, and it's a lack of clear, concise, and accurate election information. We solve this problem by detailing voter registration, polling locations, and mail-in ballots, along with candidate and bill information provided in a condensed and free format.
So we sell a device that quantifies the magnitude of impact for players participating in contact sports. Players currently endure concussion-inducing collisions without proper identification, causing them to experience concussion-related health issues. We intend to solve this issue by creating a sensor that would be located in the head region of individuals and linked to a digital interface monitored by physical trainers that are already present at each and every contest. The implementation of this physical evidence, rather than visual assessments, will protect the neurological health and futures of young athletes.
During this whole program, you have to give, I think, a pitch. In order to, a verbal pitch, that each of those value propositions should be the first 15 seconds of your pitch. So well done, everyone. We've done some work to that. But no, that's exactly what it should be. Stand up and in 4 sentences, the problem, the audience, the solution, and why the hell they should choose you instead of anything else. All I will say, we'll quickly go on to what the next workshop involves, but all I want you to take from this workshop, at least from my part of the value proposition, is think about benefits and costs, right? Everyone always thinks about the benefits. Don't forget to think about what those costs could be to the individual, how you're going to overcome it. And the last thing is always remember that you're dealing with humans. And there will always be some little bit of magic human source as to why they're going to go ahead and make a really stupid decision. So talk to your audience, talk to your customers, talk to the end users, and find out what it is that would hold them back from choosing to use your product, as good and as brilliant as it may be. It helps you beat it when you give that pitch, by knowing preemptively what's going to hold them back. So, little pitch, bit of decision making, bit of psychology goes a long way. It was wonderful working with all of you, and honestly, I thought it was an amazing group of ideas, and I'm very excited for the rest of the program. I will now move over, you have your value proposition. I will move over to David just to close us out by just letting you know what comes next, as I know you have deadlines and things as part of the competition. You guys?
Thank you very much. All right, just to recap some of the schedules here, we have, basically before Wednesday, register for the next workshop if you already haven't. Then attend the next workshop. We're talking about developing business models and your solutions. And then on the 3rd, your idea plan is due. The idea plan is online. It's about a 2-page write-up, if you will. And basically, you'll be chosen, 30 to 35 teams will be chosen for the preliminary competition. Is everyone aware of the idea plan and how to access it online? All right, so make sure you fill that out. All these workshops are going over different aspects of that. So the next one, we'll talk more about the next part. But it's important to get it in as Friday, so we can start reading through them and assigning them, because we're going to have readers read them. So the next steps is readers will read them, and they'll be going over them. So complete the competition opportunity worksheets, gather your data and your research, use those library databases, IBISWorld, LexisNexis, Nexis Uni, and all the others. Remember, don't use Wikipedia as one of your sources. We don't consider that a source. It's a lot of people just can write things. One of the things, if you do really want to use something from there, check out their references and see how legitimate they are. So talk to 10 more people if you can. You can also survey people. We have Qualtrics, which is part of your tuition. And let's see, we can add and update new information to the idea plan online as you complete each workshop and your corresponding worksheets. Remember, it's due this Friday, March 3rd by 5. And all the workshops are here between 5:30 and 7:30. We have the guest speakers dinner. So you can see we've completed a couple of workshops already. This is the second one, assessing opportunities and value propositions. And March 1st, we'll be developing your business models and solutions, and the 16th, we'll be delivering your rocket pitch. So the 16th, we'll work that out depending on who goes to the preliminaries, and you'll all have individual pitch coaching for each of your teams. If you need help, contact me. There's my email address. I can help you with Qualtrics. If you have any interview questions for your customers, that's always important, or your potential users. Talking through your idea, building up your team, anything like that. I did actually send an email out asking team seekers to come tonight. I don't know if we had many team seekers coming, but I did encourage them to attend. And we're going to send out an evaluation right now and give it to one of our staff members before you leave. You can put your name if you want. You can do it anonymous, either way, but it helps us improve the workshops. We do take your feedback and apply it going forward. And here's all our information, all our social media information.